Dear students, welcome back. So, we are done with the topic or the unit in a cost accounting. So, that is stores ledger account lesson. So, today we are going to start a next lesson in cost accounting, that is labor. See, labor is, in a general sense, it is a compensation which is paid to a employee for his work, for the activity he has done. So that is, in a general term, we call it as a labor. But we should know what exactly labor is, how important it is in the industry, how important it is in the organization. So for that, to know that, let us go through with introduction part of labor. See, labor is the second important element of production. So, the role of labor in production cannot be overlooked in spite of the fact that machines are being used a vast scale these days. The efficiency of production department is based on the skill of workers. In the absence of skilled workers, product cannot be manufactured. Workers convert raw materials into finished goods. But skilled workers helps in decreasing the cost of product, besides increasing the quality and quantity of the production. See, labor can be direct as well as indirect. Labor is related as a direct if it can be conveniently allocated to different jobs. See, very simple. When the labor is conveniently allocated to different jobs, so that we can call it as a direct labor. In other words, when there is any direct relationship between labor cost and the product. See, try to understand, when there is a direct relationship between labor cost and the product, process or cost per unit, it is treated as a direct labor. Wages paid to machine shop, assembly shop, factory, etc. are the example of direct labor cost. Direct labor cost is known as the wage of those workers who are engaged in production process, whose time can be efficiently and economically traceable to units of products. You can take an example: wages paid to compositors in a printing press, labor of machine operators and assembles, so are in assembly work. So it may also be defined as a prime labor cost, process labor cost, operating labor cost, manufacturing labor cost or manufacturing wages, direct wages, and productive labor costs. So, whereas indirect labor costs are not related with the production. Some workers do not engage directly in conversion of output, but they contribute indirectly. Labor is paid for the objective of carrying a task intended to goods or service provided. It cannot be practically traced or particular units of output. Example, you can say wages of a storekeepers, wages of a foreman, wages of a timekeepers, wages of a supervisors or inspectors, etc. See, it is very simple, where you cannot trace, you cannot trace or to a particular unit or particular output. So such kind of labors are, we call it as a indirect labor. So now it is time to understand clearly what exactly, in a general sense, or in a specifically, you have understood like a direct labor and indirect labor part. So, but here you are supposed to understand more clearly that we always say labor is a second major element of cost. See, the control of labor cost and its accounting is very difficult because it deals with human elements. Labor is the most perishable commodity. So keep this in mind. Labor is the most perishable commodity and as such should be effectively utilized immediately. So then you have to understand the types of labor which we are dealing with. As I said in a general term, that is a direct labor and indirect labor. But so let us understand most clearly what exactly a direct labor, what exactly indirect labor. See, direct labor are those labor which can be conveniently identified with a particular cost center or cost unit. So, which can be identifiable conveniently to a particular cost center, to a particular cost unit, or the remuneration which is payable to the direct workers is direct wages. Say, for example, wages paid to machine operators, wages paid to a furniture maker, wages paid to a shoemaker, wages paid to a tailors. So these are the major examples which you can keep it or which you can give for a direct labor. See, because it can be easily, conveniently we can identify for labor we have paid for what purpose, and we can transfer this to a particular cost center or cost unit. So that is why we call this expenditure as a direct labor. So now let us understand indirect labor. Indirect labor are those labor, the cost which cannot be, see, very simple, which cannot be conveniently identified with a specific job, product or process, but can be apportioned to or absorbed by cost center or cost unit. See, the remuneration which is paid to indirect workers is known as indirect wages. For example, a service of supervisor, a service of an inspector, a service of a foreman, or timekeeping officers, or cleaners, or general managers. See, these people, whatever they get as a compensation, as a remuneration, so that is what we call it as indirect labor, because it cannot be conveniently identified with a specific job or particular product. It is not related to a particular product, but it can be apportioned to or absorbed by a particular cost centers. So now let us understand the major differences between direct labor and indirect labor. See, basis we can take on the basis of identification. Direct labor, it can be really identified with a particular job or particular work or particular work order. So it can be identified to a particular job or task. Indirect labor, whereas it cannot be directly identified with a particular job or particular work. Next, variability. When point comes to variability, so variability is, it changes under direct labor I'm speaking, it changes directly with the volume of output. As the output increases, this kind of direct labor also keep on increases. So volume of output, if volume it decreases, direct labor also decreases. But in the case of indirect labor, it may or may not changes. It may get changed or may not change directly with the volume of output, because it is not directly related to the output or directly related to the production. Next, third point, we can say treatment of cost. See, direct labor cost is treated as a part of a prime cost. So it is always considered under the prime cost. Whereas indirect labor cost is always treated as part of overhead. It cannot be included in the prime cost. It can be included in overhead. As I said, while explaining, it can be absorbed, but it cannot be identified. Clear? So that is what. So now control over labor. So why we are supposed to control labor, and what are the major reason for controlling the labor, so that we are going to understand now in detail. See, labor is one of the major important aspect. We have already discussed that. So controlling the labor cost always decreases the cost of production. Say, it has been stated in the above statements that labor is an essential element of the process of production, and it also plays in vital role in producing a product. In large organization or concerns, labor is controlled by following 5 departments, the major 5 departments. That is, number one, personnel department. See, in personnel department, selection, appointment and placement of workers after suitable training is made takes place. So I'm just briefing you out. So what is exactly personnel department? So here we are going to hire employees. So we are going to hire people, personnel department. So we do selection, we give appointment letters to them, then we give a placement to them, and we do all these tasks after giving a training. So next point number 2 is work study and engineering department. What is this work study and what is this engineering department? See, in work study and engineering department, work study related activities such as planning, job specification, job analysis, time and motion study, safe working conditions, and supervision of the production process are performed. See, that is what engineering department or work study department does. So here they are going to study related activities, clear, such as like planning, a job specification, job analysis, time and motion study, safe working condition, and supervision of the production process are easily traced here, are performed over here. So that is what we call it as a work study and engineering department. Next is timekeeping department. In timekeeping department, attendance of workers and calculation of wages of workers are recorded. That is what timekeeping department, where we are going to calculate the wages of the workers. So next is payroll department. In this department, payroll or wages sheet and distribution of wages are recorded. And point 5, cost accounting department. In this department, accounting for all labors cost is recorded. So these are all the major 5 departments. So we must know before solving problems of labor. Before solving the problems of labor, that costs of labor, if that decreases, automatically it will help us to reduce the cost of production. Okay, so it will always contribute towards the reduction in cost of production. So now let us understand in detail what exactly the personnel department, what are the roles of personnel department. So in personnel department, as I said, I have briefed you out, all the activities of selection, appointment and placement of workers are performed by this department. The personnel manager must have the knowledge of current labor laws and labor conditions in the industry. See, labor policies of the company, production program, and several problems of the workers. With the help of these information, the manager is also able to provide appropriate candidate to the industry. And manager can remove all the problems which are persist in the industry in favor of a labor. See, the personal manager record all the information of workers into a card which is called as workers history card. So workers history card. So you should know that how that workers history card will look like. So I am presenting here in the PPT so that you can understand clearly on the screen. You can look. See, workers history card, that is workers history card, includes the name of the workers, department, post, grade, date of appointment, salary and qualification of the workers, the specimen of workers history card. So specimen I have displayed here, you can look at that. So workers history card, a name of the father, husband, whatever, and the number, department, a date of appointment, post appointed, salary at the time of appointment and grade, address, qualification, marital status, that is whether married or unmarried, name and address of previous employer. So then postal address, reason to leave earlier job, why that employee have left over the previous job, then promotion, new grade if we have provided, new qualification if any added qualification, and other details will be recorded under work history card. So this is what work history card. So next is a labor placement requisition. So what is this labor placement requisition? See, this is fulfilled by the personal manager. He checks whether an appropriate candidate is available from within the organization for appropriate candidature. He gives advertisement in newspaper, magazines and trade journals. A specimen of labor placement requisition is as follows. That is labor placement requisition number, date, department. Please recruit workers of the following grades of for my department with the effect from. So he has to mention the date from when he wanted those employees to be on floor. This is as per the original revised budget. So he has to give any specification if he requires. Number of workers required, grade, job specification, description and remarks. Approved by, requisition by, then action taken by. So this is, we call it as a requisition, that is labor placement requisition. Next, work study and engineering department. So this we have already discussed in brief, that it helps in establishing control over working condition. See, this department also control over productive methods for each job and each department. The main function of this department are: number one, time study. This is very, very important. See, time study determines the standard time for an operation by direct time. It takes place with the help of a stopwatch, so to fix standard time for the job operations. While while fixing standard time, necessary time for rest is also added. See, time study is very useful in standard costing, and it is a base of incentive scheme. It is a base of incentive scheme for workers. The basic purpose of time study is to find out required time for performing the job operations. So it requires to find out the required time for performing a job operations. So that is what we call it as ILP. So where it has to be identified time study as a technique for determining accurately as possible from a limited number of observations, the time necessary to carry out a given activity at a standard of performance. So this is about time study. So here we are going to fix a standard time. Within that stipulated time they have to work, and that time also includes a break time. Next, we are going to understand that about motion study. See, motion study was developed by the American management expert, that is F.B. Gilbert. It is of motion performed by workers at an operation. See, motion study is required. Motion study is related with the determination of standardized methods of for performing several jobs. When a worker is required to perform operations at work during which his body is moving, as such as movement at hands, eyes and the neck. With the help of this study, such movements can be minimized by proper arrangement of light, place of machines, then and height of chairs to reduce fatigue and tiredness. See, Benjamin W. Neill defined as the study of the body motion used in performing an operation with the thought of improving the operation by eliminating unnecessary motion and simplifying necessary motions, and then establishing the most favorable motion sequence for maximum efficiency. See, you are into a particular job. Every now and then you have to move from one place to another place. You have to move from the dark light to the light and light to the dark light. Your height is not suitable where you are working, so where you have to do sometimes standing. So these are all, how many times you are going to turn or move your hands, move your body, so that which makes you feel tired, so that the particular job time is going to reduce. So through that the employees will become more tired than the regular, when they don't move, their physically they don't move from one place to another place, when they physically they don't move. So that is what motion study is all about. Next, we are further moving to job analysis. So what is this job analysis all about? See, job analysis it includes a preparation of a description and classification of each job. So with a list of qualification needed by the workers, United States Department of Labor has deemed job analysis as job analysis is the process of determining by observation and study and reporting pertinent information relating to the nature of a specific job. It is the determination of the task which comprise the job and the skill, knowledge, abilities and responsibilities required of the workers for successful performance, and which differentiates the job from all others. Thus, the main object of job analysis is to ascertain the relative worth of each job through objective evaluations. So, there must be a specific evaluation. So, that is what at the beginning we said, to perform particular job, what are the qualification is needed by the workers, what are all their basic skills they require to perform that particular job. So that all we are going to study under job analysis. Next, we are moving to merit rating. See, merit rating is the qualitative and quantitative assessment of workers' Personally and performance merit rating is based on the following factors of the workers. See, quality of work, quantity of work, then attendance, discipline, and cooperation, so job knowledge, initiatives, reliability, and responsibility, and aptitude workers. So now we are supposed to understand the most important aspect which is required for a cost accounting or the lesson which we are learning, labor. So here you have to understand why we are going to study all this. As I said, it is an important major element in a cost accounting, and we understood direct and indirect labor, which are identifiable, which is not identifiable, and all. So next I am moving directly to the timekeeping. Timekeeping will serve the following purposes. So what exactly timekeeping and why we require timekeeping? So let us understand that first. So timekeeping department, generally timekeeping department records each worker's time in and out of the factory, and the time of each employee for each department. For time recording purpose, this department maintains different cards which are as follows: daily master's roll, time card, daily time sheet, weekly time sheet, job card, idle time card, piecework card. So the detailed study of the above cards, we can say daily muster roll, the attendance register to note the exact timing in and out of each worker of the factory, is known as daily muster roll. See, this register provides sufficient number of columns for attendance of each worker. All the entries of the arrival and the departure columns may be made by the foreman on the workers himself. See, in the case of literacy of workers, they make sign on the register to avoid any dispute later on. So each department maintain a separate register for his work. The specimen of daily muster roll, we can see that daily muster roll, date, department, day, workers number, workers name, class, and the job number, time in, time out, hours normal, overtime, and total. So here we can understand how many daily muster rolls, so what is the exact timing which is spent by that particular person or particular worker. So next is time card. It is an electronic card. In time card, the time of arrival and departure or in and out is recorded by the machine. This card is issued to each worker and an identification number is printed on it. The time card of each worker or employee is placed near the entrance of the factory or office in two racks. One is in rack 1 and the second in out rack. One rack that is in rack and other one is out rack. When worker or employee enters the factory or office, he puts the time card in a device that is machine, and card device prints the time of arrival, that is in time. And then he places this card in the in rack. The same procedure is repeated at the time of departure. The worker employee again puts the card in card device and device machine prints the time of departure, that is out time. This card helps to determine the time consumed or spent by the worker, for which wages of worker calculated according to the time recorded by the machine, that is time device. So the specimen of the time card is as follows, that is time card. So under that we have a ticket number of worker, name of the worker, department, week ending. So days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, normal time in and out, overtime in and out, total time in and out. So here we will have a worker, ordinary time, hours at rupees, wages, clerk, overtime, hours at rupees, less deductions if any. So net amount payable. So this is what exactly we call it as a time card. So next we are going to understand daily time sheet. See, daily time sheet is a special sheet which shows the time spent by a worker on each job during a day. All the entries in daily time sheet may be fulfilled by the workers, by themselves, or by the foreman. It is very suitable in an organization where one worker is engaged for only one job a day. The specimen daily timesheet is as follows. Daily timesheet, token number of workers, name of the worker, date, job number, department, time start, finished, total hours, that is normal hour and overtime, rate per hour, and amount rupees which we are supposed to payable. So worker is going to sign, cost clerk is going to sign, then foreman is also going to sign. Next is weekly time sheet. In weekly time sheet, weekly time consumed by the worker is recorded. This is quite similar to the daily time sheet. The specimen of weekly timesheet is as follows. That is weekly timesheet, that is token number of workers, department, name of the workers, week ending, these are all remain same. Date, job number on the job and off the job, job number on, job off, total time, that is normal and overtime, rate per hour, so that is multiplied by amount, so which we are going to get. So worker, cost clerk, and foreman. So this is the normal thing what we are going to learn. So next is job card. A card which is prepared for each job done by the worker is called a job. When a job is given to the worker, a card with the number of the job is also given to him. The worker shall record the time of starting the job and finishing it. The specimen of job cash card is as follows. So job card, again token number of workers, name of the workers, date, job number, and job number column, time on, off, total hours, that is normal, overtime, rate per hour, amount, workers, cost clerk, foreman. So this is a standard format of a job card which we use while calculating cost accounting. So next we are going to learn about the idle time card. What is this idle time? First you have to understand, and it is important also in your examination viewpoint. Idle time card is prepared to know the unproductive time in the factory during that particular job. See, idle time card is prepared by the cost clerk. You want to know about the causes of idle time in a factory. See, idle time is the time during which the worker were idle. There are several causes of idle time, but generally lack of materials, lack of machine, lack of power, lack at instructions or lack of infrastructure, mismanagement, transfer of workers and employers or employees. So that creates treated as a major causes of idle time. Idle time may be classified into two categories, normal and abnormal. If idle time is inevitable even in standard condition, it is known as a normal idle time. Whereas abnormal idle time, that indicates the idle time noticed is an excess of normal idle time. In addition to it, Idle time due to abnormal circumstances is also known as abnormal idle time. Abnormal idle time can be classified into two categories: controllable and uncontrollable. See, controllable idle time is that idle time which can be controlled by the good planning at top level management, whereas uncontrollable idle time is that idle time which cannot be controlled by an individual action. So the specimen of idle time card is as follows, that is idle time card: name of the worker, token number of the worker, date, department, reason for the idle time. So time from to period. So you have to understand: power failure if any, breakdown of machinery if any, waiting for tools if any, waiting for raw materials if any, or any other reason that has to be specified, from which hour to which hour the idle time was, total number of hours, that is period. So rate per hour and amount also calculated here. So workers and cost clerk will look into it and they will sign on that particular specimen. So foreman also sign on the same. Next is piecework card. This card is prepared for a piece produced by each worker. So this card records a number of products, number of units, number of pieces which is produced by the worker. See, the specimen of piecework card is as follows, that is piecework card: a name of the worker, token number of the worker, date of starting a job, then date of completion of job, name of the job, quantity of the product, quantity accepted, quantity rejected, rate per unit, rupees, total time spent, then worker signature and foreman signature. So now we have learned different aspects, which is required, the theory aspects before going to the problem. So we have left over with few more content, so that we will continue in the next session. Until then, take care, see you soon, bye bye. I'll come up with one more video in continuation with the theory part of labor unit.